Every 4 years, the world stops for the FIFA World Cup. It is the biggest sporting event on Earth. Nations clash, fans cross oceans, stadiums shake. But there is a massive unspoken problem hiding in plain sight. Getting a World Cup ticket is hard. Getting into the host country is becoming almost impossible. This is the story of how FIFA built the world's most inclusive tournament, and then trapped it behind a wall of red tape. To understand the trap, you have to understand the scale. FIFA, the global referee of football, was born in Paris in 1904 by the national associations of 7 countries, but it took 26 years to get the first ball rolling. 1930, the inaugural run in Uruguay. Just 13 teams. Most of Europe flat out refused to take the long boat ride. From 1934 to 1978, the 16-team era stabilized the sport, surviving a massive 12-year freeze caused by World War II. Then came the global push. From 1982 to 1994, FIFA expanded to 24 teams, opening the doors to rising powers across Africa, Asia, and the Americas. And by 1991, they officially launched the Women's World Cup, locking it into the calendar the year after the men's event. From 1998 to 2022, the 32-team gold standard was born. 24 years of flawless execution. Which brings us to 2026, the mega event. 48 teams, 104 matches, millions of fans mobilizing across the globe. When a country agrees to host this massive 48-team machine, they agree to build the stadiums and manage the logistics. But here is the fatal flaw in FIFA's master plan. FIFA owns the tournament, but they do not own the borders. A host country controls its own gates. To get in, you need a visa, permission from a sovereign government. Some countries waive them, but others, like the United States, require strict, heavily vetted visas for most of the non-Western world. When you invite 3 billion people to watch and millions to attend, but the host government ultimately decides who gets to cross the line, you do not get a unified global celebration. Instead, you get a VIP club where only fans with the right passports are allowed inside. History. The World Cup arrives in Africa for the very first time. The energy is electric, but a massive logistical storm is brewing behind the scenes. Fans from neighboring African nations, the Middle East, and Asia can't just show up. They face months of paperwork. To save the tournament from becoming an exclusive party for Western tourists, South Africa drops a game changer, the event visa. The cost? 0. Fees are waived. It opens up dedicated fast-tracked airport counters. It was just a standard passport sticker, but it proved one thing: if you cut the red tape, the world will show up. 8 years later, Russia looks at a physical passport sticker and says, "Hold my passport." Russia suspends tourist visas entirely. In its place, the fan ID. A fan from Beijing, Dakar, or Rio doesn't need to visit a Russian consulate. They buy a match ticket, register online, and their visa arrives in the mail. It grants unlimited access for the entire tournament. Even better, it doubles as a universal transit pass. Subways, buses, and cross-country trains completely free. 2022. Qatar takes the revolution entirely into the cloud. No plastic, no stickers. Just a smartphone app called the Haya card. Traditional visas are frozen. Your phone becomes your border pass. Match ticket, passport, and housing confirmation unlock a digital key that opens entire borders. Neighboring Gulf countries recognize the app as a multi-entry visa. Doha's transit network scans it for free travel. The result? A staggering, record-breaking 3.4 million fans pouring into the stadiums. From a free sticker in Johannesburg to a plastic card in Moscow to an app in Doha, the pattern is undeniable. When host countries remove visa barriers, more fans show up. Because when you dismantle the walls of bureaucracy, the game stops belonging to the few. It belongs to everyone. Then came 2026. The World Cup returned to North America, and the border-busting evolution hit a grinding bureaucratic halt. In 2025, the U.S. government, under the Trump administration, implemented a sweeping travel ban. A travel ban affecting citizens of 39 countries, including World Cup participants Haiti, Iran, Cote d'Ivoire, and Senegal, prevented most ordinary fans from those countries from obtaining visas to attend matches in the United States. Let's be clear about what this means. If you're a fan from Senegal and your country qualified for the World Cup, you cannot get a visa to watch your team play in the USA. Your government is banned. The scrutiny didn't stop at the turnstiles. At least one decorated FIFA World Cup referee from Somalia was denied entry to the U.S. after landing at Miami International Airport. Customs and Border Protection said he was determined to be inadmissible due to vetting concerns, but did not explain the concerns. But wait, there's more. A separate visa bond program initially required fans from 5 African nations: Algeria, Cape Verde, Cote d'Ivoire, Senegal, and Tunisia, to pay deposits of up to $15,000 to secure a B1/B2 visitor visa to attend World Cup matches in the United States. Let that sink in. $15,000. Asking a fan to pay $15,000 to watch their country play the World Cup isn't a visa policy. It's a financial wall. As empty seats began to threaten the spectacle, FIFA panicked. Seeing its nightmare of half-empty stadiums becoming reality, FIFA requested the waiver directly. The two sides met at the White House. The conversations went on for months. In May 2026, the United States announced it would waive the visa bond requirement, but only for fans who had already purchased FIFA tickets and registered in the FIFA PASS system by April 15th. Read that again. April 15th. The announcement came in May. The deadline had already passed. And the travel bans? The bans on 39 countries? Still in place. Fans from Haiti, Iran, Cote d'Ivoire, and Senegal still cannot obtain visas to enter the United States. The bond waiver does not change that. The damage was already done. Fans had already canceled flights. They had already lost hotel deposits. Plans made over years, destroyed in months. So yes, the financial wall came down, partially, conditionally, late for some, and for the rest, the wall is still standing. The friction didn't stop with the fans. It hit the pitch. 15 qualified nations faced severe attendance limitations due to delayed processing. DR Congo was forced to move its entire training camp to Belgium due to health restrictions, but Iran was the most heavily impacted squad of the tournament. Blocked from setting up their planned camp in Arizona, they were forced to base themselves across the border in Tijuana, Mexico. Star players like Mehdi Taremi had to endure grueling border security checks, flying in and out of the U.S. exclusively on match days with a strict 24-hour exit window. Even the officials were caught in the crosshairs. 11 integral members of the Iranian technical and medical delegation were hit with absolute visa bans. And Omar Abdulkadir Artan, the decorated Somali referee on track to make history as the first from his nation to oversee a men's World Cup match, was stopped while connecting in Istanbul and permanently dropped from the tournament pool. With no fans on the planes and teams running on skeleton crews, the story itself was the next target. Dozens of accredited international reporters from Iran and multiple African nations had their visas systematically blocked. The crisis grew so severe that the Iranian media department had to issue an official apology to the world, admitting they had 0 press officers on site to run communications. President Infantino, are you embarrassed that accredited media professionals and fans are being shut out by the co-host's rigid geopolitical border policies? The beautiful game has a glaring ugly side. When a host country builds walls instead of gates, the stadium lights can only shine on those who are legally allowed inside. Walk into any government briefing room, and they'll tell you this is purely a math problem. The U.S. government argues these restrictions are about one thing: security. They're protecting Americans from visa overstays and potential risks. This argument isn't new. The visa waiver program already creates a smooth VIP fast lane for countries the U.S. trusts. But for everyone else, the machine gets strict. Did the Trump administration specifically engineer the visa bond policy to target nations labeled with high overstay rates, inadequate vetting infrastructure, or passport for sale programs? But let's look past the spreadsheets. The logic completely breaks down when you look at actual human lives. People do not travel 6,000 miles, buy premium flight tickets, and secure World Cup seats just to slip into the shadows overstaying illegally. They have jobs. They have families. They have homes they love. What we are actually looking at isn't a safety protocol. It's a massive power imbalance. The United States is the host. It holds the military, the money, and the ultimate diplomatic leverage. Traveling nations from Africa, the Middle East, and Asia simply do not sit at the same negotiating table. When Washington says no, the mighty FIFA can't override it. The billion-dollar football governing body can write urgent letters, they can complain in press conferences, but at the end of the day, they bow to the border. So what does FIFA do? They collect the money from these countries anyway. The nation's qualified. The fans are ecstatic. The local federations spent millions promoting the dream. But when the whistle blows, the stadiums are missing their heartbeat. The party went on, but the guests were locked outside. The fallout from these bureaucratic walls isn't just administrative. It's deeply financial. Non-refundable travel costs, flights, hotels, and match tickets purchased months in advance are completely swallowed when visas are delayed or denied. This is a direct economic hit to fans across the African continent. When fans from Cape Verde, Ghana, and Senegal are forced to stay home, they don't spend money on hotels, food, transportation, or merchandise. The U.S. loses millions in tourism revenue, but the true loss cannot be measured in dollars. African people lose the opportunity to represent their countries on the global stage. For many, attending a World Cup is a once-in-a-lifetime dream that is actively slipping away. Fans from powerhouse football nations like Ghana, Morocco, Egypt, Senegal, Cameroon, and Cote d'Ivoire are watching their teams from afar rather than in packed stadiums. It undermines national morale. Because this is about more than money, it's about belonging. When your country qualifies, you are part of something global. You're supposed to be there to sing, cheer, and celebrate. But the visa system says, no, you're too risky. We don't trust you. That message hurts. The World Cup is supposed to be a symbol of harmony. Instead, the 2026 edition is trapped in a complex web of political tensions and travel barriers that challenge the very social benefits host nations always boast about. Former professional soccer player and author Jules Boykoff summed it up perfectly. He views the 2026 World Cup as a massive paradox. On one hand, it has more teams participating than ever before. On the other hand, because of the policies of the Trump administration, it looks more like a World Cup of exclusion than inclusion. He's right. The tournament is bigger in size, but smaller in spirit. Walk into any marketing suite, and the message is crystal clear. FIFA's official slogan for 2026 proclaims, "Football unites the world." Back in 2025, the FIFA president confidently assured the globe that everyone will be welcome in Canada, Mexico, and the United States, promising that the U.S. was fully committed to a smooth travel process for fans everywhere. But the marketing script ran directly into a geopolitical wall. Fans from 39 countries cannot get visas. Supporters from 5 qualified African nations face staggering $15,000 USD deposits. National team officials are denied entry at the border, and accredited journalists are blocked from covering the matches. When a decorated FIFA referee from Somalia was completely blocked from entry, the governing body immediately built its own defensive wall. A spokesperson issued a statement declaring, FIFA is not involved in host country immigration processes, adding they had been informed by authorities that Mr. Arten's barred status would not be altered. On the literal eve of the tournament, Gianni Infantino took the stage to address the growing controversy. Defending the organization's complete lack of intervention, he stated that football's governing body simply cannot dictate immigration policies to sovereign host nations, infamously telling critics and furious fans to just chill and relax. Regarding the entry crackdowns, translation: FIFA washes its hands. But here is the structural flaw in the argument. FIFA chose the host countries. FIFA spent years negotiating the terms with the US, Canada, and Mexico. FIFA actively promoted this multi-nation tournament as an inclusive, boundary-breaking celebration, and they sold billions of dollars in sponsorships and broadcast rights entirely based on that narrative. Yet, the moment the heavy security doors closed on the fans, the executive simply shrugged and said, "We have no responsibility here." That isn't a logistical hiccup. That is a massive, systemic contradiction. History leaves clues, but only if you choose to read them. If the United States had studied what South Africa pulled off back in 2010, the logistical nightmare of the 2026 tournament could have been completely dismantled. South Africa provided the perfect masterclass in turning border control into an open door. First, the U.S. could have implemented a dedicated, World Cup event visa. In 2010, the South African government engineered a streamlined visa category explicitly for ticket holders. Instead of forcing international fans to navigate the standard, heavily backlogged B1/B2 tourist visa queue, the U.S. should have bypassed standard bureaucracy for anyone with a verified match ticket. Second, they should have dropped high financial barriers early. South Africa waived application fees for anyone carrying an official ticket. Meanwhile, the U.S. initially demanded a staggering $15,000 security bond from specific developing nations. Even though they eventually waived it under heavy pressure, the damage was done. Adopting South Africa's fee waiver model from day one would have prevented total chaos. Third, deploy mobile consular units. Fans in countries like Cape Verde faced immense hurdles simply booking an interview appointment. The U.S. State Department should have taken a page from 2010 and deployed rapid response mobile units, or fast-track digital screening windows specifically for tournament applicants. Fourth, establish on-arrival processing for selected regions. Rather than maintaining a rigid, mandatory pre-travel interview for every single non-visa waiver country, the U.S. could have collaborated with FIFA to grant visa on arrival or electronic travel authorization status to verified ticket holders. And fifth, coordinate border control with soccer authorities. In 2010, South African immigration integrated its security databases directly with FIFA's ticketing system to instantly verify a traveler's purpose. The U.S. operated with a strict iron wall between Homeland Security and FIFA, leading to high-profile disasters like the airport deportation of Somali referee Omar Arden. An integrated system would have flagged official personnel and fans before they even boarded their flights. To truly understand how we got here, we have to look at how the technology evolved. The past two host nations attacked the problem with completely different operational strategies. First, look at the form factor. Russia relied on a physical, laminated fan ID card equipped with a magnetic strip. Fans applied online and had to wait for international mail delivery or scramble to pick it up at distribution hubs. Qatar took a completely mobile-first digital strategy via the Haya app. The digital card generated a dynamic QR code used simultaneously by immigration officers, stadium turnstiles, and transport systems, completely eliminating the logistical bottleneck of physical mail distribution. Second, look at accommodation controls. Russia separated border security from the housing sector. If you had a ticket and a fan ID, you passed customs, leaving you free to camp or book ad hoc lodging. Qatar, facing severe geographic and hotel constraints, used the Haya app as a crowd control valve. To get border approval, fans were legally required to validate their housing through the official FIFA portal. Even the rules for non-ticket holders evolved. Russia kept a strict lock: no ticket, no entry. Qatar launched the Haya with Me program more than 2 weeks before the tournament, allowing ticket holders to invite up to 3 non-ticketed friends for a small fee to boost the festive atmosphere. Finally, there's the post-tournament legacy. Russia utilized its infrastructure to offer extended multi-entry visa waivers for months after the final whistle to boost tourism. Qatar went a step further, permanently converting the Haya platform into its official national tourist visa system. 2 distinct, functional blueprints left on the table, blueprints that the 2026 hosts completely ignored. Strip away the bright stadium lights and the corporate marketing, and you find a fundamental structural problem at the core of global football. FIFA has absolutely no power over host countries. FIFA can negotiate, FIFA can threaten, but ultimately, a sovereign host nation's government controls the border. This imbalance creates a textbook moral hazard. FIFA reaps all the rewards, collecting billions in sponsorships, broadcast rights, and global prestige, but the governing body bears absolutely none of the costs when a host country locks its gates. The fans, the players, and the qualifying nations, they are the ones who pay the price. Here is the deeply uncomfortable truth. Visa restrictions disproportionately punish the developing world. A German fan denied a U.S. visa can seamlessly pivot, booking a flight to drive across the border from Canada or Mexico instead. A Senegal fan denied a U.S. visa has no backup plan. They are stuck. The economic gap widens the divide. A wealthy individual can easily hire premium visa consultants, pay for expedited embassy processing, and absorb the financial hit. A working-class fan in Dakar simply cannot. The result? A World Cup that is only truly open to wealthy nations, and the wealthy elite within those nations. The ultimate irony of the 2026 tournament is its size. This World Cup expanded to a massive 48 teams. 10 African nations fought through brutal qualifying rounds to finally earn their place on the grand stage. But while their teams made it to the pitch, their fans were legally barred from the stands. Intentionally or not, that sends a devastating message. Your players are welcome to entertain us, but your presence is not. And for the global standing of African football, that isn't just a logistical breakdown. It's a massive, systemic blow. FIFA markets the World Cup as football's greatest unifying event. A celebration of human diversity and connection through sport. But in 2026, millions of fans from Africa, the Middle East, and Asia are receiving a completely different message. You are not welcome here. This lockout isn't because of anything these fans did. It's not because of an active security threat. It is simply because their passports come from countries that the host government has deemed untrustworthy. That isn't football uniting the world. That is power dividing it. To save the future of sports, the rules of engagement must change. The diplomatic rows and selective visa bonds of 2026 highlight critical lessons for future mega events. Lesson 1. Preconditions over promises. FIFA can no longer rely on vague political assurances. Future host agreements must include explicit, ironclad clauses mandating a frictionless entry process for all accredited media, athletes, and fans, regardless of shifts in domestic political administrations. Standardized global visas. As tournaments expand to 48 teams in cross-continental co-hosting, like the upcoming 2030 and 2034 events, host regions must develop a unified, streamlined sports visa. Similar to Europe's Schengen model, this would prevent a single host nation's rigid domestic policy from fracturing the entire global experience. Lesson 3. Early activation. The U.S. State Department's last-minute bond waiver on May 13, 2026, proved policy adjustments are possible. But the delay severely penalized fans who had already canceled flights. Fast-track visa appointment systems and tournament extensions must be fully operational at least 12 months before the opening whistle. At the end of the day, allowing a host nation to restrict access to specific developing countries compromises the sporting integrity of a global tournament. If a bidding nation's domestic laws run fundamentally counter to the inclusionary spirit of an international event, football's governing bodies must face an ultimate truth. They must be willing to disqualify their hosting bids entirely.